What's going on, guys? This is Real Deal Fantasy HQ with your boy LQ back in for another great episode. In today's episode, let's talk some tight ends, people. We need to know some mid to late round targets and some targets to avoid. Some guys that are being overvalued and undervalued. So this is basically an ADP price check expectations going into this next season when we're talking about tight ends. So I don't want to waste any more time. So let's get right into the episode. So today, let's talk some tight ends, people. Some mid to late round guys that need to be targeted and some guys that need to just be overall avoided at their ADP price. Some of these guys are not even going to live up close enough to the rounds that they're going. Some guys that are just being underappreciated when they've shown us the past couple of years why they need to be in the conversation for the top 10, top 7 tight ends. You know what I mean? Now, again, we know who the big three is. It's Travis Kelce, it's George Kittle, and then there's Mark Andrews. When they're gone, all the flashy names are off the board. Who do we target? You know what I mean? And no, I did not add Zach Ertz to that, but we know what's going on in Philly with Zach Ertz. I kind of feel like Dallas Goedert is on his heels, so I do not think he's part of the big three anymore. He will be behind Mark Andrews at number 4, of course. So I think we already know we can talk about the top 4, top 3, maybe even the top 5 tight ends, people, but I don't really want to focus that much on these guys going into the season, going into this episode, actually, I should say, to basically keep putting out the same copy and paste over and over the top 3, the top 4 tight ends. We already know that should be burned into your brain going into draft day of who these top guys are. It's really the topic of who do you get once all these flashy names are gone. Who do we look for? Who do we target? Who's going in the later rounds, and who's on the rise to be talked about? Who's a sleeper? All these questions that we have for these tight ends. Now, this might sound biased, you know what I mean, being that he's a former Ram, and I always liked Jared Cook. I definitely appreciated when he played for us with Rams. He showed up and showed out and put his heart into every single game. He was one of our leading receivers, believe it or not, at a tight end, with yards and catching, etc. We were really bad with Jeff Fisher. So Jared Cook has been going under the radar the past couple of years. I know when he played for Oakland, he saw a career high 100 targets, but they really didn't have any other options there in Oakland. So I do want to take that into consideration, but at the same time, it was more situational why he got the career high 100 targets in Oakland. But I definitely like the fit in New Orleans with Drew Brees. Fuck you as of right now. But anyway, I do like Jared Cook of how he fits that offense. He definitely takes the top off. He definitely kills the middle of the field. That's definitely where Jared Cook is a threat. So 9 touchdowns, people. And I can't just not really focus and see the last 2 years he has been fantasy relevant. Tight end 7 last season, and the season before that, tight end 5. So therefore, he's going underappreciated year in year after that. Once all the flashy names are gone and I see Jared Cook there sitting in the freaking 7th, 8th, 9th round, why not? I'm going to take a guy that's going to be able to be, serviceable once, all the flashy guys, all the flashy names are gone. So I like Jared Cook where he's at right now. His ADP is the 9th round. That's very low for a guy that finished tight end 5, tight end 7, in the past 2 years. So here's the problem also that some people look for. Now, there's literally only 2 different types of tight ends, and there's only really 4 that I can name off the top of my head that gets the touchdowns and gets the catches and targets and et cetera. That volume, that production are for the stud guys because, one, they're on teams that target and pride towards the tight ends. They are I wouldn't say the main focus, but they are part of the main game plan when it comes to targeting tight ends. Kelce, Mark Andrews, you even got teams that have the tight end scheme, but they're not really good tight ends on the team. For instance, they had Tennessee Colts. They're known for targeting, their tight ends, Jack Doyle and then Eric Ebron when he was there in Indianapolis. But again, if I'm going to get a guy that has one or the other, give me a guy that's going to see the end zone. Give me a guy who's going to be getting the touchdowns. If he can't get me the catches, and in PPR formats where we live and die off of the 1 point or half point PPR leagues where they become relevant week to week, I want a guy who's going to be able to get in the end zone. And 9 touchdowns was a career high for Jared Cook. And I think that's a very good fit there in New Orleans with Drew Brees. Fuck you. And I feel like Jared Cook is not being talked about enough. He's going under the radar completely. Like I said, his ADP is the 9th round. It's a tad bit disrespectful for a guy that finished top 7, top 10 tight ends in the back-to-back season. So I definitely want him on my roster if I do miss out on the big 3 or Zach Ertz or whatever the case may be. If I miss out on those flashy guys, I'm definitely going to be targeting a Jared Cook in those mid to late rounds. He's definitely a guy that needs to be on the team. Now, Hayden Hurst is coming up on my draft board. He's rising slowly. He's definitely on the sleeper radar for a lot of these mainstream fantasy, for a lot of fans and out there and fantasy owners. He's coming up on the radar, being that he's going into an offense where he's filling the shoes of Austin Hooper. Now, Austin Hooper had back-to-back top seven seasons, and I definitely think Hayden Hurst fills that role. He goes in with clear opportunity to be the guy. There's no real tight end behind him trying to take the throne or take the position away from him. So he's going into a plug-and-play situation where off top he's going to see 80 to 85 targets. And I definitely want Hayden Hurst on my team, being that he's going in the much later round, ADP like at the 10th round right now, very cheap. He has a very cheap ADP where I'd be willing to pay, being that, that's like basically for free for a guy that's going to see 80 targets, possibly see some end zone. I mean, you're getting a Matt Ryan on a hot streak season. That I don't know how many times I got to say it. The Matt Ryan curse. You heard it here first. Since 2012, he's been hot and cold, hot and cold. He's going to have a hot season this year, people. So I want to buy all shares of Matt Ryan. I want to buy Hayden Hurst, being that he's going to give you that top 7 ceiling of a tight end. And I definitely think top 7 tight ends are very relevant going into this next season, being that they're going to be getting more looks. They're going into teams where they're going to be targeting tight ends even more. He's going to be the guy in Atlanta, and I definitely want parts of Hayden Hurst. He's definitely on the sleeper radar all across the board for everybody. Now, here's the thing. Before I get into my mid-round to late round tight ends to avoid, I don't like the word avoid, but I want to avoid them at their ADP. I'm not willing to pay the high price or pay the price for that investment at their draft capital, being that I know I'm not going to get that full return. There's better guys in that same round. There's guys that are going in the later rounds that are going to give me more back, more investment backing on the guy that has an ADP sitting in like the 6th round. So I don't want to say necessarily avoid them at all costs. They don't fall into the do not draft category. They fall into more of a, watch list, a wait and see, into a, like a draft with caution. Don't do any reaching. That's where it gets a little funky with this word avoid. So I want to clarify that before I go any further. I'm not saying do not draft these guys. It's just that their ADPs, it's like I said, it's a price check evaluation. Like, I can't invest into the first guy I'm going to be talking about, Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry's going in the 6th round right now, and I don't see myself doing that. You know what I mean? I can't see myself saying full send on Hunter Henry in the 6th round, being there's too many questions. He does give a top 10 presence. He gives me that top 10, tight end, like, vibe, but I don't see it happening with a Tyrod Taylor, being the guy there and him in the driver's seat. I don't feel like I can trust Tyrod Taylor in that offense to have Hunter Henry give me a top 10 performance, all 16 games. You know what I mean? So I don't feel like Hunter Henry exactly gives me the security in the 6th round to be like, yeah, this is a full send based on his ceiling, based on, unproven potential, I should say, honestly, because there's also the question, can this guy stay healthy? That is my main thing here, being that if you can't stay healthy for me, for a guy that I only really need one of at that position all season long, I'm not willing to take that investment on a guy in the 6th round when I can get a wide receiver there, when I can get a running back there that's going to give me his heart and soul all fucking season. So that's the problem. It's like guaranteed Hunter Henry is going to miss some games, and I don't think I could be on board with that. Like, yeah, I feel like Tyrod Taylor in that offense, they're going to lean on Eckler. They're going to lean on Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, but Hunter Henry needs to stay healthy within all that. And he definitely has, like I said, that top 10 presence, but I don't think that's going to help me bring home the gold, people. So I'm probably going to avoid him in that 6th round. If he falls later, then cool. Maybe, like I said, I want a cheaper price for Hunter Henry. I don't want him to be the guy that I have to take in the 6th round. I'm not really agreeing with that at the moment. Now, another guy who has an ADP that is very expensive at the 607 spot, and that is Evan Engram for the Giants, people. He's a guy that I want to stay healthy so he can prove me, he can prove the world, the fantasy world, prove the Giants, prove everybody wrong that he is actually good at football and he can stay healthy. But the guy missed 14 games in the last 3 seasons. Last season, he missed 8. Now, he had 44 receptions, 467 yards, and 3 touchdowns, people. So he was on pace to have a decent year, but then he suffered injury once again. So, again, I think it all the people are thinking about right now is upside and the hype and, Danny Dimes, and he's going to have a big year this year. They have all 3 wide receivers and Tate, Shepard, and Slayton. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's going to be on the field. Saquon's back. He's healthy. Yeah, but Evan Engram still has that question mark over him, being that he has yet to have a healthy season. But they picked up his 5th-year option, which saves him from being cut, which is great for him, whatever. But I kind of don't want the headache with Evan Engram at all. He's probably one of the ones that if I get him way later than his ADP, then I'll still have that question like, I only need one tight end at this position for the rest of the season. I'll just hit waivers when he's on bye. But then it's like I'm going to have to hit waivers. I'm going to have to make trades if he misses eight games again, if he misses 4 to 5 games again. That is the headache that I don't want for a position I only need one player of. You know what I mean? So I definitely rather take the risk on the Jonnu Smith or take the risk on an up-and-coming, another tight end that I'm not naming right now. But it's like I'd rather take the chance with another guy that I feel like that can stay healthy, that's on the offense, that will look for their tight ends, that can help out in the end zone. He'll bring home some touchdowns and et cetera. But again, Evan Engram brings too many questions. Like he had a problem dropping the balls. He had a problem staying healthy. He has a problem knowing the playbook. He has a problem building chemistry with Danny Dimes. And obviously, with all that being said, there's just a big question mark on a 6th-round pick on a tight end that you only need one position of that can't stay healthy. So that's literally my main argument with Evan Engram. And he's going to miss games, people. Like, I think we can say he's injury prone. I could say that it's going to be a guarantee he'll miss X amount of games because it's just all he has shown us. So it's not really anything different going into this next season with Evan Engram, in that tight end position. Is he going to be a number 1 target, number 2, or number 3? Is he even going to be healthy on the field? That's my problem in the investment in the 6th round for a tight end. So he's definitely one of the guys that I'm probably going to avoid mid to late round. Now, Austin Hooper, he's been on my bust list. I did a bust list earlier this year, and I feel like Austin Hooper basically just shot himself in the heart, actually. He just destroyed his fantasy value going into this next season, signing with the Cleveland Browns. Now, my only problem with him signing with the Browns, it was clearly a money situation. I wanted him to stay in Atlanta because he had that rising top 5, vibe. He had that performance back-to-back seasons with finishing, 6th overall in the tight end. So it's like if he would have stayed in Atlanta, I would have been full send on Austin Hooper. He would have been right there. I probably would have took him over Ertz, honestly, at that, the 4th tight end off the board. But I feel like he just was money hungry. Now he's on a terrible team. Like, let's not forget the Browns are a terrible organization. Nobody really believes in the Browns, into winning games, to have a good winning culture, to have a good locker room that's positive. And that's my issue. He's going into the dark zone, people. And let alone there's way too many mouths to feed to be fantasy relevant, people. So he's going to a team where there's Odell Beckham. He's going there with Jarvis Landry. He's going there with a Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. David Njoku is his backup. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't really full send Austin Hooper come draft day with also a very high ADP, which is in the 6th round, 5th round after that I've seen him gone in some mock drafts. So there's the big problem there. There's the big question mark. And I think people are going to draft Austin Hooper. He's definitely going to be overdrafted. I can believe and 100% believe that in your live drafts and your big money leagues or whatever you do for fantasy. But he's definitely going to be overdrafted, overvalued for sure. People are living off that wave, that hype that he had in Atlanta, but they're not really registering like the situation he's going into. So that's my problem there. And I don't want to hear the narrative that Baker loves his tight ends, blah, blah, blah. He's going to see end zone targets, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Show me. Show me. Don't tell me, just show me. Because I feel like Baker needs to focus on his two-star wide receivers. You have Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, and then you have Nick Chubb, and then you have Kareem Hunt, who's also a very good pass catcher. So it's like there's too many mouths to feed. There's like you have to think too. Now, the Browns aren't really a team that target their tight ends as high as like, a Colts, a Tennessee or Baltimore Ravens or San Francisco, et cetera, the Chiefs. So they only targeted their tight ends last season 13%. You know what I mean? And here's why. This is the cop out here. David Njoku was injured. He had a wrist injury. So therefore, okay, cool. They're not going to target their tight ends as much just because, David Njoku's out. So they went to another game plan to primarily target their stud wide receivers, what they should keep doing. They should keep trying to feed Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry or whoever's up next in, the wide receiver 3. But I definitely don't see Austin Hooper fending off a David Njoku. I don't see him fending off a Jarvis Landry. Hell no, the PPR consistent god. Not happening. And then a diva that demands all the targets and all the looks, who's going to be very, outspoken of not getting the ball, Odell Beckham. So, again, that opportunity was up for him in Atlanta, and I feel like he did make the jump to be the third option on that team, with Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. But there was no way that he was going to one-up Calvin Ridley and come between him and Julio Jones. So I definitely think that would be harder to do, going to a Browns team with Baker Mayfield, with Odell Beckham and the Jarvis Landry. Now, the gap there is Odell Beckham, let's say, is the Julio Jones, and Jarvis is the Calvin Ridley. He's way better than Calvin Ridley, I should say. It just doesn't matches up, but they also have a stud running back. So it's just too much going on for me to believe that Austin Hooper will be a primarily target to be fantasy relevant, to give us a top 7, a top 5 at least, performance out of that. And I just don't see it happening. So you say they didn't target David Njoku last season. It was only 13%. Okay, David Njoku was healthy the 2018 season, and he finished top 10, and he also was targeted 20% of the time that entire season. That's when they were actually looking for their tight ends. That's cool. That's finishing, I believe, 7th or 8th when I looked at it, of teams that target their tight ends. That's good. That's good. But again, David Njoku is behind Austin Hooper. You really think they're just going to exit off David Njoku because he got hurt? He finished as a top 10 tight end in 2018. So therefore, they know what the kid can do. He has potential to actually lift off. Because I remember everybody was on that David Njoku wave, and they were waiting for this kid to break out. But he got hurt. So it all is a matter of David Njoku could stay healthy. I really don't think they're going to exit him out and make Hooper the primary. If anything, they'll probably compete in training camp who will get the 60-40, snap opportunity. So I definitely think you need to put that in consideration into an ADP, into a guy that we think is going to blow up in Cleveland. It's not going to happen, people. I just don't see it happening, being that the plate is too full for Baker. It's no way that Austin Hooper will be the primary target. That's my big thing here. So with that being said, you need to draft a caution for Austin Hooper. Honestly, he's not going to see my team. I know that for a fact because I already know the tight ends that I'm going to be targeting. I know the tight ends that I believe in. I know the tight ends who are going to have the looks, who are going to get the end zone, who are going to get the touchdowns, and everything above that checks off on my list. But Austin Hooper doesn't check those boxes off for me, being that, again, he's on a very crowded team. So that's really all I got for you guys. I'm going to go over it again. Austin Hooper, Evan Engram, Hunter Henry, mid to late round guys that I'm avoiding based on their ADP, expectations, situations, etc., health, injury, all that stuff. It has to play a role when it comes into draft day when you're going into the tight end position. Now, the tight end position, here's my rule. I only need one. I'm not drafting more than one tight end. Honestly, I'm not, because I only need one for the entire season. So when that guy's on the bye, there you go. Hit the waiver wire. There will be somebody that's popping off at the time. But the thing is, too, if you're going to get a tight end, why not target one of the top guys so you don't have to worry about that situation? So you can always get a Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce in the higher rounds, or George Kittle, and then not have to have the thought or worry about, getting a tight end in the later rounds who may or may not pop off. But that's just how I strategize. I got lucky last season. I won't say luck, but I actually knew and had like some knowledge and paid attention to preseason training camp. The reports, the beat writers are sometimes on or off, they're hot or cold or whatever it be. But Mark Andrews was definitely my top guy to target, you know, even though TJ Hawkinson was another guy who actually ended up being a bust, but that was a whole situation that was out of control with Matthew Stafford getting hurt. But Mark Andrews was one of the guys that I had on my list that I need to get, and I got him in the 12th round, and look at that payoff. You know what I mean? So just do your own research. You don't even necessarily have to listen to 100% of what I say, but I definitely think and believe that sometimes you need to just do your own research. And if you like a guy, if you like, say you're a Titans fan and you believe in Jonnu Smith and you think he's going to lift off, then hell yeah, go get your guy. He's going in like the 13th round. That is a good ADP price. But if you're a Chargers fan, thinking about a Hunter Henry in the 6th round, you cannot be biased. You cannot really believe that Hunter Henry is going to live up to that ADP because he has the injury history. You have Tyrod Taylor as your fucking QB. So there's just too many questions that's going into draft day with a Hunter Henry. So you know what I mean? So you have to just really look at it straight on, use the eye test, and have some of your own knowledge going into draft day. But that's really all I got for you guys today. I don't want to waste any more time. I want to get to the next episode that I'm about to record, actually. But this was my mid-round tight ends to target and to avoid. And I hope you guys like the episode. Leave a comment below what you guys think. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share. Show some love. And I'll see you guys next week for another great episode of Real Deal Fantasy HQ with your boy LQ. Peace.